Hello, my college algebra students, and welcome to Math 1650. I'm Paul Zachlin, your instructor, and I'm looking forward to working with you this semester. On this beautiful, sunshiny day, let's get started. I want to take you to Lakeland, and so we're going to take a look not just at Lakeland, but at your website. So if you go to the quick links and you click on BB for Blackboard, you can log in. I'm sure you've been able to do that with your username and password. And once you get there, and if you click on Math 1650, it should take you to this web page where you'll see, well, these blue buttons on the left-hand side. Right now I'm clicking on announcements, and if I post any announcements, this is where they will appear, and they'll also be emailed to your Lakeland email account. But the button you probably click on the most often is this one, Course Info and Text. And I just want to give you an idea of what's here. So at the top of the page, Course Info and Text, you have the course schedule. And if I click on that, you'll see a calendar that explains which topics we're going to cover on which days. I'm thinking of this as a Monday, Wednesday, Friday course. Although, of course, since you're taking it online, you can do these assignments and sections whenever you wish. You'll notice that there is a small assignment today. I'm asking you to turn in what algebra do I recall. There's a small assignment I usually give the first day of class when I teach college algebra. And then on Wednesday, I would ask you to turn in a homework assignment from page 14. It says 1 to 25 mod 4. This mod 4, you'll see that a lot on my calendar. It's a shorthand way of telling you, let's do every fourth problem. So here it would be 1, 5, 9, 13. You know, next week when you're on section 4, when I say 5 to 75 mod 5, well, you'd start with 5 and then do 10 and then 15. So this will give you a sample of homework problems to do. You don't need to do every problem in the section to understand the material. But assignments are due on the day listed on the calendar. So your first homework assignment is due Wednesday. I'll start take a look at those sometime after 11 a.m. So if you can get it in by 11, that would be great. Again, this is an online course, and the key to the online course, of course, is flexibility. And, so this first assignment here, what algebra do I recall? I asked you to turn it in today. But hey, I mean, you just found out about this. If you can turn it in Tuesday or even Wednesday, that's okay with me. What I'd like you to do is just kind of try to stick to this schedule as best as you can. You'll notice our first exam on Chapter 1 is scheduled for Wednesday, September 13th. But again, if that doesn't work in your schedule, you could take it Tuesday, or you could even take it Thursday. And I'll discuss exams a little bit more later. This is, a ballpark idea of when the exams should be taken and when the homework assignments should be done. And so you can see in total there will be 4 exams as we proceed throughout the semester, each one on a couple of chapters, except the first one's just on one chapter. And after exam 4, we will do parts of chapters 8 and 9, and then we will take a final exam. So there's other links here under course info and text that are worth looking at. If I scroll to the bottom, right below my office hours, you'll see our course description, and I'm going to click on that now and show you the current syllabus. So looking at that, we have Math 1650, Fall 2017. You have my contact information and office hours up above. And a lot of the information that I need you to understand right up front is here. You'll notice the textbook, College Algebra by Carl Stitz and Jeff Zager. Carl Stitz is a colleague of mine here at Lakeland, and he went on sabbatical about 6 years ago now. and wrote a college algebra book and did not charge people for it. He decided to give it out for free, other than the printing costs. So if you want a print copy, you can get one for $26 in our bookstore, or you can get a free copy, an e-copy. And the way to do that is to go here where it says College Algebra Textbook. And I'm going to click on the link, and I get a nice PDF, 716-page book, absolutely free. And it's very well written. It's very thorough. It may be written at a higher level than other math books you've encountered, and that's because it's a college algebra text. But you can click right to any place you want and get started. So here's section 1.1, and there's plenty of information here. A lot of times these gray boxes kind of tell you what you need to know. For example, interval notation is talked about here, and that's actually something I talk about in the very first assignment. There are examples talking about graphing, and what this is doing is setting us up for what we're going to be studying in college algebra. We're going to be studying graphing, and we're going to be studying functions. And those are two very important ideas. But we want to get familiar with graphing before we do get into functions. And then here's something called the distance formula, which is a nice thing to talk about too. But you'll notice here on page 14, we're getting into the exercises. So exercise 1 asks me to fill in a chart. We can write a set of real numbers using set notation, using interval notation, or we can graph it. As we did here. This is a part of a number line. And so it's going to ask me to do some of these things. And one nice feature of the textbook is that right after you have your homework problems, it gives you answers. And so if you had difficulty filling in that chart, well, the nice thing is the answers are right here. And so you can, check a couple of the answers, and then maybe that'll help you complete the rest of the chart. So I think it's a good book for this course, and I think you're going to get a lot out of it if you put a lot into it. That's what I would say about it. So I just want to show you around Blackboard a little bit more. Best way to contact me is email, and I'd be happy to respond within 24 hours or 48 hours on the weekend. I will get back to you. And sometimes it's sooner than that. Kind of depends on how many emails I get and when I get them. So let's see, we've gone over announcements. I should go over assignments. So first of all, if I go back to the syllabus for a minute and you look at the grading, you'll notice that grades are based on 700 points, and the majority of those points come from the final exam and the 4 exams you'll take during the year. But written homework accounts for 70 points, so that's 10% of your grade. And yet I would argue it's the most important part of the course. Why? Because the exam questions are going to be very similar to questions you've had on written homework. And so you're constantly practicing for those exams as you do your written homework. And when you want to do one of these written assignments that you have for a particular section, you can look at the course calendar again, which of course is on at the top of Course Info and Text, this very first button. But the other thing you can do is you can go over here to the left and click on Assignments. And when you click on Assignments, you will see they are organized. The assignments are organized by chapter. The very first assignment you have, what algebra do I recall? I'm going to talk about that momentarily, but let me click on Chapter 1 Homework, for example. Homework 1.1, the problems are listed here, so page 14. So if I open my book or my ebook, either one, I could go to page 14, either by typing it in, 14. Oh, that corresponds to page 4, so that's interesting. You may have to sometimes scroll down a little bit, it looks like. Looks like it's about 10 pages off. But here where the book says page 14, you will see we have our first homework problem. And all the homework's to be done on your own paper. When you take exams, they're going to be written exams. They're going to be proctored either in our testing center or some other testing center. Some of you have been emailing me to make arrangements about that, and that can be done. That's one of the reasons we offer an online course, is to offer flexibility. But since the exams are going to be written, the homework should also be written so that you're practicing for the exams. And I'd like to monitor your homework. I'd like you to submit it to me. And the way you do that is you click on the name of the assignment. And when you do, you get a screen like this. It tells you how many points possible. The assignments are worth 2 points each, even though I know it says 0, but you do get 2 points for the assignment. And what happens here, it says under number 2, assignment submission. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to attach a file. And so if you click Browse My Computer, it'll show you some of the different files that are available. And if you go to the right location, which may be pictures, I don't know, you can attach, well, I can attach all kinds of pictures, but what you're going to do is attach images of your homework. And I think of 2 easy ways to do it. One is to use a scanner. If you have a scanner available, you can create a PDF file. But another way is you can just use a camera, and you can take pictures of your homework, and that works fine as well. So you just click Submit when you're done. There's one on the top or the bottom. And then I will have your homework, and then I can grade it and get back to you. And if you want to see your grades, this button here, My Grades, can take you to your grades in the class. We're not going to do that now. Only a couple of things to go over. We did assignments. YouTube videos, 2014. I'm in the process of taking old videos that I've taken when I've taught this course before in the classroom and putting them on YouTube. And so far I've put the Chapter 1 videos online. And so if you click on Chapter 1 videos, you'll notice that there are a number of problems worked out. A lot of these were done in class. Some of them are homework problems. And I'd recommend that you take advantage of this. There's a lot of problems worked out for you, and I hope that you'll find that these help you to understand the material. When it comes to preparing for the exam questions are a lot like your homework questions. But another thing I would recommend are what are called the checkpoint quizzes. And if I click on the checkpoint quizzes button, you'll notice there's a folder. And here I have, well, they're assorted by chapter. And so if I click on a chapter, there are checkpoint quizzes for each of the sections of the book. And so if you have a particular section that you need extra work on, this is a great way to review that section for the test. And I think you probably noticed, if I just go back here, the solutions to checkpoint quizzes are all worked out on YouTube. Dr. Stitz, the author of the book, published the solutions to the checkpoint quizzes on YouTube. And so you can click that link if you want to see those. Back to homework. Before you even get to the Chapter 1 homework, if I click on assignments, I mentioned before this first homework assignment, what algebra do I recall? So I'd like to click on that and kind of show you what's going to happen here. It says to work out the solutions and do it on separate paper and then attach them as I showed you before. If you find that you do not recall how to solve these equations and inequalities, no worry at all. These problems are all worked out in the Developmental Algebra Review Packet that you can access after you submit your work. So right now it says, what algebra do I recall? So I can take a look at that and click on that and show you what it looks like. And I have 10 problems for you, 10 equations or inequalities to solve. And I'm just wondering if you can do these. The answers are below, and I'd like you to work these out on paper and just attach the images. Now after you've made a submission to what algebra do I recall, if you click on assignments, you'll see a second link before the Chapter 1 homework.
It's the Developmental Algebra Review Packet. And when you click on this, you'll notice, here's an assignment worth 10 possible points, and there's a due date, Friday, September 15th. And let me go back to your course calendar and just point out, September 15th is the Friday after your first exam. It says turn in the prerequisite algebra review. And if I click back on your syllabus, you'll notice that indeed, besides written homework, there's a 10-point assignment, prerequisite algebra review. So the idea is, in order to do college algebra, there is some developmental algebra you have to have mastered in high school, or maybe here at Lakeland afterwards, or somewhere else, in order to be ready for college algebra. And this is just to help you review and also make sure you're ready. So, let me show you what that document looks like. It starts off with solving linear equations. And by the way, this example 1 I think you will recognize, especially if you worked out, well, the what algebra do I recall. In fact, there are many different sections, quadratic equations. They give you the quadratic formula and some information on how to solve quadratic equations. And the examples, well, this is exactly what I gave you on your What Algebra Do I Recall packet. So, after you look at this, if you want to, I mean, you could even go back and do another submission, but the idea is, whatever you struggled with in What Algebra Do I Recall, say I did okay with linear equations, but I had trouble with quadratic equations. Well then, when I go to the packet, maybe linear equations, I'll say, I don't need any work on that. But quadratic equations, I do. And if you go through the examples, and then look down below, it says to solve for x by doing the square root, solve for x. This is radicals, sorry, that's farther than I wanted to go. Fractions, there's all kinds of good practice problems in this lesson. So again, back to quadratic equations. You can practice solving for x by taking square roots, solving for x by completing the square, solving for x using any method, so the quadratic formula or factoring. And again, up above, there are examples to show you things that you should have learned or should be fairly familiar with before you start college algebra. So the point of this first assignment is to get ready by doing some of these problems. I gave a few check marks in case you just want a little sample. You definitely don't have to do every problem, but you should do some, and whatever work you decide to do, I want to collect that, and I want to give you 10 points for the effort that you put in mastering, again, solving equations and inequalities, things that you should have mastered before you're really ready for college algebra. And so again, looking at the calendar, you have a few weeks, okay? So by the end of the 3rd week is when we want to be all caught up. You guys can do it. You can do it with some hard work. You can stop by for extra help. Either talk to me or talk to people in the tutoring center. And this is usually a good thing.
If you ever have questions on your homework, please feel free to write me a little note in the margin. Say, hey, I'm stuck on this one, and maybe I can give you a hint. Or feel free to email. That's another opportunity. And I should also mention that we have free tutoring for those of you that are near Lakeland. Monday through Thursday in room A1044 we have free tutoring, which is a nice service of the college.
I think the only thing I haven't gone over with you is the fact that after each of the 4 exams, we're going to have a follow-up assignment worth 5 points each. So that'll be another 20 points of the grade. I say a little bit more about that in the 2nd page of the syllabus. I guess they actually on the 3rd page, and I'll say more after your first exam. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks for signing up for the course. I really look forward to working with you this semester, and I wish you the best of luck as you work with me to learn some college algebra.